Hello, today I'd like to talk to you about thinking. Now, you would have thought most chess players are good at thinking, but it's one of the key things that in my view, you need to really get right if you're going to play good chess. A lot of youngsters don't do a lot of thinking, actually. They're good at chess, but they sort of look at the board and think, oh, that looks about right, seems fairly safe, let's play it. And I think that's got worse since we've all been playing a lot of blitz and rapid play chess online. But I think to slow it down a little bit and see what you should be doing by way of thinking. And I have a sort of a 5-step process that I think you need to be practicing. Now, the idea is, as my father used to say, think or thwim. I mean, a pun on sink or swim. And it goes, think, T-H-I-N-C. T is for threats, H is for hopes, I is for improvements, N is for the next moves, and C is for check. But not check to the king, but check your move. Let's have a think about threats. That's the first thing you think about, and you must look to see if your opponent has got a threat before you move, and before you choose a move. There's a little system I adopt, A, B, C, D, to choose a defence, and that's fine, but you must check to see if your opponent's got a threat. So here we've got a black to move in this position, and the opponent has got a threat of taking the pawn on f7. It's the square in red. Now you might be fine, you think, well, I can let white do that and I'll still be okay, or you can try and think of some sort of a defence for it, but you must look and notice to see if your opponent's got a threat. So often you see a young player playing chess and your opponent plays a move and it takes something important, and I go, oh, which is the noise of somebody realising something that was there all along. It's not a complete surprise, it's kind of a, oh, should have seen that, yes you should. And you won't until you look. If there aren't any things any threats to face, anything your opponent's going to do to you, you may hope to do something to them, and perhaps take a piece for nothing, or make a threat that can't be stopped, like a fork or a double attack. So, for example, in this position, white has got an opportunity to attack that pawn on f7, and it may not be the case that black can defend it very easily. I think the verdict's still out on that one. Most players seem to think that, yes, white wins a pawn, but black gets enough compensation, enough activity. White gets into a modest mess trying to win the pawn. But it's a threat, and it's something you might hope to do to your opponent. So the next thing to think about, after you've dealt with your opponent's threats, what can you do to them? Now, 9 times out of 10, there isn't going to be anything to do by way of defending something or attacking something. It's the problem with doing lots and lots of tactics puzzles. You sort of get the idea that there's tactics everywhere all the time, and actually most of the time there probably aren't, and you have to do something else. And there's no point in trying to force the issue until your position is good. But so, improve your position. If there's nothing tactical to do right now, then do something. Do something to improve your position. The easiest way to improve your position, and actually it will see you a long way into your chess career, is find the piece of yours that is worst placed, that's doing nothing, that's still sleeping, or is still parked on its starting square, asleep in bed, or is still in the changing room. If there's one of those, give it a poke and get it working for you. So, I mean, chess is a team game sometimes, so I know you play it as an individual, but the team that needs to work is all your pieces. And if not that, then try and make some sort of plan. Your pieces are okay, but what are you doing with them? Can you gang up on something? Can you start an attack? What you're trying to do. So, for example, here, white's position's okay. Black's position doesn't look too bad. And what can we do by way of improving white's position? Well, it seems to me there's 2 fairly lazy pieces. There's the one in the corner, the white rook, is still in bed, hasn't moved at all, so we can get that moving. And actually the knight on d2, knights always like to be near the centre. And I guess that's on a central file, but it's not really in the centre, and it's not really doing much towards putting any pressure on black. So the sorts of moves we might think about are knight to e4, rook to c1, rook to d1. They will improve white's position. There aren't any tactics, you can't win anything here. Black doesn't have any problems, any pressure on the position, but we can move the rook, move the knight, improve our position. And that introduces another thing that you should be thinking about is ask yourself, well, what shall I move? That looks like a move, that looks okay, I'll move it. Because you're going to miss stuff. The best way to think about your chess move, unless it's a mate in one or something, in which case, yeah, do play it. But try and make a list. Try and make a little list, maybe it's only 2 moves, but make a list of all the moves that you might play that look good on your next move. And if you make that list and look at them in turn, you're less likely to miss something, and you won't go through that pain that I talked about earlier. So think about all the next moves you might make. It needn't be a long list, because actually in the start position there's, I don't know, 20 moves you might make on the very first move. But we don't want to consider all of them, but just pick a couple that you think fit in with what you know about chess and say, well, it's this one or this one, and after having a little think, I'll pick this one. And then you're nearly ready to move, but not quite. So in this situation, we've talked about the different moves that we might play and pick one. But the last thing you need to do is check your move, which is to say it really must be think with a C, where the C stands for check. You've got to check to see if your opponent has got any new threats after you make your planned move. A terribly painful example that I watched in the under-14 team a few years ago, where a youngster who shall remain nameless had this position as white, and using the rule about your laziest piece, I might have recommended something like bishop to b2 here. Connects the rooks, gets the bishop onto the long diagonal. That's all fine. If we were worried about that knight on b4, we might poke it. But white thought, oh, well, the black queen has come out and is actually within reach. So they thought, well, perhaps I can reach it with my knight. And indeed they did. They reached it with the knight and then were promptly checkmated. So what you need to do is you've considered the moves, you've got your move in mind. What's your opponent's best reply? Your opponent is going to try and find the best reply, so you better work out what it is and make sure you can deal with it. This position also shows the futility, the pointlessness of picking up a piece, moving it to the square that you want, and holding on to it while you sort of peer around, trying to see past your own hand to see what the danger might be. Because the piece that's in danger might not be the one you've got in your hand. So, try and imagine the knight moving to e5. Imagine what black's best reply is. And I guess one of the things to do there is actually see what your intended move changes. It puts more pressure on d7, it puts some pressure on c6, but it opens up that diagonal. It opens up that diagonal with the 2 powerful black pieces on it, a battery we say in chess. There's a battery coming down to look at your g7 and crunch, and it was checkmate. So that's the idea. So think THINC every move, and you should be fine. It's a bit of a rigmarole to go through absolutely every move, but I promise it gets automatic. And so when your opponents move, what's the threat? Can I do anything to them? Right, okay, and I improve my position. This is the move I fancy. Is it okay? And it need take no longer than that. But it's very hard to do that, or very hard to get into that habit, if all you ever do is play blitz games. So I do recommend you slow down and play some slow games where whatever else you do, you're trying to get into that regular habit of THINC, threats, hopes, improvements, next moves, make a list, and checking your move before you play it. Get into that habit as much as you can when you're playing slowly, and it will be there ready for you when you want to play quickly. It's much easier, I always say, to add a bit of speed once you're accurate, rather than trying to get accurate when you're playing quickly. But those are my tips for how to think in chess.